Hey guys, it's Hannah. So today when I was praying, I was reminded again about the power in a name and the power in our own name. And I remember that when I was struggling with infertility, there was a time when I was really upset with my parents because I was like, how do you give your daughter a name like Hannah? Hannah is a woman who struggled to have children in the Bible, and here I am struggling to have children. Um, and I remember it was just something that I battled with for a long time, and I just felt like the name that I had was part of what I felt at the time. I just felt like I was living this curse, and I felt like this name was part of that curse of not being able to have children. Uh, and then, of course, as you know, Hannah's story in the Bible is that her story doesn't end with a woman who can't have children. His story ends with her birthing Samuel, who becomes a prophet, and then she has a whole bunch of other children after that. And so today I felt as though God was reminding me that um, the names that we see in the scriptures, for most of the people who did amazing things in the Bible and the stories that we hear about, um, there's a journey that they go through. And so sometimes, if like me, you're going through a certain struggle and you look at the character in the Bible who you're named after, and you're like, this is not a good thing, the story doesn't end there. The story continues. And with God, there's always victory in the end. And so I just want to encourage you today to go back and to look at your name and to revel in the beauty and in the power of your name. Because there's a reason why you were given that name. And so for me, where my story, when I was wanting to have children, or my story of that journey started out hard and in so much pain, just like Hannah, who I was named after in the Bible, my story ended beautiful and victorious, and I ended up having a bunch of kids. I just love how God redeems situations. And so, why our names? Because it's something that you can look back on that is really, really simple. Just look up what the meaning of your name is and let it bless you. And if you have one of those difficult names, like I know that let me give you an example. When one of the names that I grew up hearing when I was a kid, it's the equivalent, if I were to translate it in English, it's the equivalent of poverty, as an actual poverty or suffering. And I was thinking today, so how do you redeem that? How do you change that around to be a positive thing? And I thought, well, you can think of the suffering of Jesus, and that because he suffered, you can live victorious now. And so if you have one of those names that doesn't sound like a blessing, like if you were named poverty or suffering, or the equivalent of that in whatever language that you were named in, because I knew people who had those names growing up, you can redeem that name, and you can ask God to show you something about that name. Like I said, if you got suffering, for instance, it could be the suffering of Jesus. And so your name doesn't have to mean suffering for you. Your name could be that because Jesus suffered, I live victorious now. And so my name is a reminder of Jesus' suffering that he went through, and that he went through that. He got the victory. He gave it to me. He is reigning on high right now. And so my story doesn't end at suffering because Jesus suffered for me. You can turn it around. And if there's something about your name that does not feel like a blessing, where you're just like, I can't turn this around, Hannah, I don't know how I can see the positive in this, then ask God to give you a new name. because there's something powerful about our names, that when people are calling you that, and we see that in scripture, we see God changing people's name, Abraham to Abraham, Sarah, was it Sarai or Sarai to Sarah. We see him doing it with Simon, where he names him Peter. So we see God doing this where he can give a new name, and that name can be linked to destiny. If your current name right now, there's something about it that doesn't bless you, then ask God to give you a new name. But there is something so powerful about the names that we have been given. So I just pray that you would prayerfully look into that and see what God might be trying to remind you of when it comes to your name. And I pray that your name would bless you. And that if your name is not blessing you, that you would partner with God to redeem your name in a way that he shows you to redeem your name. I send you so much love.